Hi, John Mann here from MannMade USA, and today we are going to do a MannMade USA 2040 bridge install on this PRS SE version of a CE24. This is the sandblasted model, and we're going to take this bridge off and we're going to replace it with a MannMade 2040 PRS Man black nickel bridge. Drops right in, direct replacement, no modifications necessary. Tools needed for this installation include a bunch of these. I always have a set of dial calipers, a screw gun, Phillips screwdrivers, number 2, number 1, number 0, slotted screwdrivers, number 1 and 0, and a stubby screwdriver for other bridge installations. We're not going to use that today. I do use these hex key drivers. There's a 632 and a 440 there, or you can use Allen wrenches. Truss rod wrenches for core and SE guitars. A set of feeling gauges is occasionally needed. Obviously, you need a neck cradle, nice, comfortable place to work on. I have a piece of flannel blanket here, which prevents the guitar from getting scratched. And additionally, we have some other tools on this side. So I always have a brass hammer and a steel punch, assorted couple of pliers. I have a needle nose pliers, wire cutters, a tuner jobby there, and a string stretcher. And also, you're going to need some kind of tuner. We use a digital Peterson digital tuner. It's a strobe style tuner. You can do it with a clip-on tuner, but you certainly will get better results with a high-end tuner like the Peterson. The other things you'll need are, this is a handy tool, string action gauge, which helps you set the height of the strings off the fingerboard. And then you're going to need a radius gauge. You can either buy these or you can actually make your own. You can take a piece of cardstock and, for example, this guitar has a 10-inch radius. So you could draw out a 20-inch circle with a school compass and cut it carefully with the scissors, and you'll have yourself a 10-inch radius. Okay, before we start, I want to point out every bridge comes with a instruction sheet which explains in detail how we're going to do this installation. Please take the time to read it. This is very important for the successful installation of your trem. And of course, this video will help you along that way too. I typically just cut the strings right off. You're not going to damage your neck or the truss rod. You can cut these strings right off the pitch. With no harm to your guitar. Next step is to take off the back plate. We're going to use a number 1 Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to use a power screw gun. Very carefully. And put your finger, if you're using a power tool, I always put my finger around the screw and the screw tip to just ensure that I don't slip off and damage the surface finish of the guitar. You go into slow speed. We're not in any great hurry. We don't want to damage the screws. Okay, there you go. Now we've got that plate off. The next thing to do is to remove the springs. There's multiple ways to do it. You can just use your hands and pull up on it, or you can use needle nose pliers and grab the loop. And pull the springs out like that. Okay. Now we switch over to a number 2 Phillips bit to remove the mounting screws. can't get the bridge out with the springs attached the way they are. So you have to remove them. So there is a way to remove these springs without breaking them. If you just try to pull them and yank on them, they will snap off inside the block because there's a bend on the tang of that string. So what I do is I lift it up a little bit. I bend the spring up just a little bit, enough to get this flat blade screwdriver under it. And we want to walk, just gently ease that spring up out of the hole. Take your time, don't rush it. And you'll be successful removing it. Just like that. These are junk once you've done that. They're not worth saving. In fact, I don't know how you would use them ever again since I've bent them up. Springs are relatively cheap. Think of them as guitar strings. Okay? We have no bridge. Important instructions. Please read first. Watch the instructional video. What do we got inside here? Let's see. You have a guitar pick that says 1.5. That's millimeters. You're going to use this as a gauge later on. That's why it's so fat. Your bass playing buddies will love this if they play with a pick. There's also a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench. That's also a gauge to be used in the installation of your bridge. A business card. And then, of course, a written instruction sheet on how to do what we're talking about. Okay? Now, on these bridges, as we disassemble this kit, you're going to find your trim arm, your bridge, and underneath there's a bunch more stuff. There's new mounting screws, there's new springs, and Allen wrenches that you'll need. This packet has the new mounting screws and a couple of drills. They're there to ensure that the holes are the right size. 7 mounting screws. There's 1 spare, just in case. And the 2 drills. So this first drill, the bigger of the 2, which is shorter, this guy here, that's a number 29 drill or 136. And it doesn't quite fit, so we're going to open that hole up a little bit. And then this other drill is a 7/64, so that should go all the way down to the bottom. So let me get my drill out and we will continue sizing the holes to make sure that they're perfectly fit. So in preparation to drill these holes, you might need a few additional things. Any old ruler will do. I have a machinist scale here, which I like to use. You'll need some masking tape, and you'll need a hand drill. So we're going to take the piece of tape, maybe 1/2 inch wide, like that. And we're going to take the larger of the 2 drills, the number 29 drill, and we're going to go 3/8 deep, 3/8 of an inch. So you're going to hold your tool up to that and put the tape right at the end of the mark there. That's how deep you're going to go. Just like that. The metric bridge, the screw holes are almost identical, but they're just ever so slightly smaller due to the difference in US and metric. And to do this, I'm going to put the guitar flat on the table. Swing the neck backs of the guitar flat. This way I have a good chance of getting perpendicular. Now all we're going to do is go down to that tape. We're going to drill to there. It's ever so slightly, but just like that. Hold that drill as perpendicular and square to the guitar body as you can. Okay. And then we're going to take the other drill and we're going to mark it at 1.25 inches. Put your drill on your scale, 1.25 inches deep. Okay. Whoops, came out. Okay, now we're sure that the holes are exactly where we want them. Next step is to put your bridge right on it. We have a piece of tape on the bottom of the bridges because we lubricate with special silicone grease the knife edge holes. So they're already lubricated and set to go. Now, if you're worried a little bit, you can put a little bit of oil of some sort or soap on the threads. I'm going to take a little bit of fretboard oil and I'm just going to dampen the paper towel here with a little bit, just a drop. And this just makes it a little easier to put that screw in. So you just touch the thread, put it in. Do the same with each screw. You can use paraffin wax, bar soap, cooking oil. I would avoid things like 3-in-1 oil. And like I said, you're going to have one extra screw just in case. Okay. I'm going to start this by hand. Just so that they're threaded in straight. You can turn them all the way down by hand if you so choose. I like to use my power tool. This is the number 2 screwdriver. Make sure it's going in the right direction. As you're putting it in, make sure it's perpendicular. I'm going to just go down until I feel a little bit of resistance, because I don't want to risk damaging the screw. So we're not all the way in yet. And as I said earlier, you can just do this with your hand screwdriver. So we are going to screw it down Let's get our 2.5 millimeter gauge. We want to screw it so that this bridge, by the way, has to be sitting flat on the body. There should be no gap. This bridge should not be sitting up. I want you to go down past the gauge, and I'll explain in a minute. So take all those screws and drive them in so that you're holding the Allen wrench flat like that on the body of the bridge. Bring it down so that that gauge can't go in. Okay. Right. Now what I want you to do is, now that it's down below, just slowly turn that screw upwards, so counterclockwise, until the Allen wrench goes in. Okay, I think I've got it. Let's put the guitar up on my shoulder. And I want to look down and look at that knife edge and see that they're all lined up and in the same place. Gauge should go right underneath the head of that. I have my finger pressing down. That one I think needs to come up a little bit. Take your time. Go slow, be careful. Okay. That all looks good to me. I think the knife edges are all in the same height. Key is that they're all in the same height. That's the critical part of making this bridge work properly. We're going to put the springs in, and you'll notice that they have a kink in it. That kink is to keep the spring from moving and walking its way up out of the bridge. By putting this kink in the spring, it's there, it's not moving. So you put it in the hole, and you'll notice that it doesn't go all the way down. That's because of the kink, and that's what you expect. So take your punch and your hammer and just tap lightly until it's bottomed out, just like that. Okay, 2 down, 2 to go. You want to be right over the tang that's in the hole, not back here, but right over the part going into the bridge. There you have it. And as I said previously, we want to run the springs parallel. That's the way PRS does it, and they've had great results for 40 years. That's the way we designed it back in the day, Paul and I. And the reason is that the strings run straight. So the tension should be straight, running in unison with the strings, because these are counteracting the strings. So typically when I put these on, I take a 0 screwdriver and I hook it up just like that. I will do the 2 outside ones and then the inside ones. Generally, you don't need to replace the claw, because if you do that, that means you have to solder a new ground into your bridge. These holes don't line up with the American claw, so it's just simpler to do that. But you're free to do that if you want. Now your bridge should be high in the front and flat on the body. So what we want to do is take the arm, put it in the hole. Sometimes it'll pop into place like it just did there. And if you've done the mounting screws right, see how I'm wiggling it? It should feel nice and smooth. No clicks, no pops, no nothing. While you got it tipped up, take this 1.5 millimeter guitar pick, put it underneath there. When that pop, that meant it came out of whack here. All right, so you want it to be seated in all 6. Okay? There you go. Now if I look at the guitar from the side, and if you look at the back, and the treble side is higher or lower than the bass side, you don't have the screws adjusted right. Go back and repeat that step. If you do not have the knife edge screws set up properly and you string your guitar and play it, you stand a good chance in damaging the knife edge of the bridge. So take your time, double check, triple check, make sure everything looks good. All right, we're gonna string this guitar up. So give us a second and grab some strings. So we've got our strings on. The next step is to get the high E and the low E saddle set to the proper height at the 12th fret. Okay, factory specs are 1/16 of an inch here, 60 thousandths, and then like 90 thousandths here. Sometimes we go a little lower, but that's the factory spec. And to do that, we are going to use our string action gauge and a radius gauge. PRS guitars, this model is a 10-inch radius, so we don't have to measure it and double check. So you need your 440 Allen wrench, which is 50 thousandths in size, but that turns a 440 screw. So that's the right guy for that, the real thin one. I'm going to use this handy little tool, which we do sell on our website. It's a hex key on a screwdriver handle. So right now it's basically sitting on the frets because the saddle is all the way down. So we're going to raise it. So we want 60 thousandths there. We're still a little low. Let's see what we got. Lower turn. And there we are, right at 60. Now on the bass side, we're at 50 right now, but we want to be at 90. Again, making sure the saddle, the bottom of the saddle is parallel to the bridge plate. Let's look at our weights together. I'm going to loosen the tension a little bit. Make it easier to turn the screw. Yeah. I always recommend not doing this under full tension, meaning not tuned to pitch. Loosen it up. Doesn't need to be full tension. Just as long as the string is taut enough that you're going to get an accurate reading. We're at 70, so we're going to keep going up. 440 screw, 40 pitch screw is 50 thousandths per revolution. So 1 full revolution gets you 50 thousandths change in height. So 1, 2, and I think we're there. So now what we want to do, I place the bridge on my shoulder and I get the radius gauge, and now we're going to bring all those other saddles up. You see, I mean, when we ship it to you, they're just sitting flat on the bottom bridge. So we've got to raise those all up. So I'm going to loosen the tension just to make it easier on myself. Okay. One side and bring up the other. The saddle isn't cockeyed. Now that we've set the string radius correctly to match the fingerboard radius, which on this guitar is a 10-inch radius, we're going to set the intonation. So you need to do this. You need a tuner. I'm using a Peterson strobe tuner, but a clip-on tuner or a plug-in tuner will work almost as good. So you're going to tune your guitar to pitch and then play the same note at the 12th fret. And I'm running a little flat. Now I'm sharp. So if you're sharp, you pull the saddle back to lengthen the string distance from the saddle to the 12th fret. If you're flat, you need to get the string sharper, so you move the string forward. So each time you do this, you have to retune. Bingo, we're out of the money. That one's good. The D string is good. G string is good. B string is just ever so sharp. So we're going to bring that saddle back a turn. Still a little bit sharp. Bingo. That's flat. We're going to move that saddle. More forward. Okay. All right. So now our bridge is set, with the exception that we have to adjust the claw. And this is why we still have the pick here, this 1.5 millimeter pick. We're going to stand the guitar up on its edge like that. We're going to take the back plate that you took off earlier and put it directly below the pick. And we're going to take our number 2 screwdriver and we're going to loosen the 2 screws that hold the claw like 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn, back and forth. And you don't want to be holding the strings. You want to have the strings be loose. And this guitar needs to be tuned to pitch to do this. And you just keep loosening to the point where the pick will just fall out. And that means you're at equilibrium. Tuning is stable. There we are. As an added little trick that helps stabilize your tuning, the treble side, you're going to take it another 1/8 of a turn out. Okay? And to check your tuning, you should pretty much be exactly where you were before. And your bridge should be parallel to the body, just like that. And it should be parallel across the back, one side to the other. One side should not be higher than the other. And if I did this correctly, you're nice and parallel. Okay. Last thing to do is put your new trim arm in. And if you want to adjust it for the tension, that's a 632. So that's the 1/16 Allen wrench that fits in there, that one there. You can loosen it or tighten it to adjust the tension on your arm. When we ship the bridges, they are reamed out so that there is a what we like to call a slide fit. So there should be some resistance. Put it in, put it out, but that arm should stay wherever you put it. It's not going to flop around like the old Fender Strats. And that should do it. Now you just play it. Be nice and smooth. If you find your guitar goes sharp after you use your trem, that D string's going a little bit sharp, you have an issue on your nut. So you'll need to take a nut file and rest that nut a little bit so the string is not sticking, hanging up in there. It's not a bad idea to put a little oil or grease, make it a little slippier, and there you go. Installation complete. So I hope this video has helped you to install your bridge successfully. And if you like what you saw, please subscribe, click like, and ring the bell. Thank you. Once again, John Mann from MannMade USA.